What's up, family? Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully, you guys having a great and exceptional day. Hopefully, everybody's cool and whatever they're doing right now. All right, so it's another beautiful edition. Get my music going. There we go. All right, another beautiful edition of today's forecast. We're all gonna die. Where I mock the media, but I always end it off on a serious note. So, yeah, 2025, we're basically in the middle of the year, and things are not looking too good financially. Whether you work in the private sector, you work in the public sector, look, let's be realistic. People have been hurting for the last decade, a lot of people. Now, those who were in the upper crest of the salary caps of people who are making six figures were not obviously hurting as much as your workers who make between $30,000 and $60,000 or less. And that was because the people that were part of the upper crest of society, as I like to say, they were not dealing with inflation. Now, the people with the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, which is whether it's intentionally or unintentionally, they've always felt the pinch. But in the last couple of years, regular everyday working people have been feeling the pinch even more so with higher costs of goods and services. Now, whatever your political affiliations is, that's your business, not mine. I don't care. I don't vote on either side. I used to be a big Democrat, but now I got to see how full of crap I see that they was just as full of it as the Republicans. So I just started saying, hey, I'm not a big fan of voting. The last election, I voted for the independent, and I leave it at that. But so I will say at the end of the day that what has happened recently is that even people who make $100,000 to $150,000 financially have been hurting more so. Assets have gotten depleted in certain aspects. Savings have gotten depleted in certain aspects, especially if you had to get work done on your vehicle or your home nowadays. The depletion rate of a lot of savings and, egregious credit card debts is real. Myself, in the last 2 years, all of 2024 and 2025, keep running into my back. In all of 2025, I've had the highest amount of credit card debt than I've ever had in my whole life as an adult. And it's really because of obviously a house situation. Number one, you have, because when you own a home, you got to get maintenance done on it. Number two, car situations. You own a car, eventually maintenance has to get done. And then my one expensive habit. So a lot of people have expensive habits, one way or the other, or a habit, one way or the other. A lot of people want to have an overpriced car, overpriced jewelry, overpriced clothing. Me, I just like to travel. I like to get on a plane, specifically take a solo trip by myself and go to another state. I've only been to Canada twice. Shout out Canada. I had a good time in Vancouver last year. I had an amazing time in Toronto in 2023. Great experiences. But my expensive habit is I like to travel. Now, in the last 3 years, I've learned how to travel in a much more smarter way. If you look at my description, if you want to become a member of American Express or United Airlines with them, you can be able to get air miles. You swipe your card, get access to a lounge if you're a frequent traveler like myself. I've been saying to myself for the last few years, I need to become a travel agent again, just because I travel so much, and it'd be nice to be a part of my side hustle. But that's another story for the other day. So anyways, American Express with them, it's a charge card, but if you do, obviously you have good credit, and if you do a good job in regards to paying your bills off on time in full, not partially, you have a great chance of getting cashback rewards if you build up a certain amount of points, things of that nature. You can utilize points towards other things other purchases that you want to purchase. And the beautiful thing is you can get access to lounges with specific airlines if you're an American Express card holder. So I'm a big proponent of using credit cards responsibly, not not being an irresponsible credit card user. If you're able to obtain air miles, because I love to travel, discounts on certain products or services that you swipe your card for, and then obviously getting cashback rewards and building up enough points as you swipe your card in order for you to pay off your bills, use the cash back to pay off your bills or buy other items. Okay, so I say all this to say this is that, but even like I said, a person like me, I can be very transparent about myself. I don't have any kids. Shout out to the parents, nothing but love and respect. I'm 42 years old and I've never had a car payment. I've had 1, 2, 3, 4 cars in my whole life, but I've never had a car payment, and that's something I've always been proud of, very proud of. Especially given the fact in 2025, you have people paying up to $1,200 a month to $1,500 a month for a car payment. So I don't know about you all, but I just think that is one of the most ridiculous things on the freaking planet to have that kind of car payment, you know. Because in certain states, that's considered to be someone's rent. I mean, great example, in the state of Pennsylvania, that's rent for certain people. In states like Mississippi, Alabama, South Carolina, $800 to $1,000, you know, people can rent a house or an apartment for that amount of money. You know what I'm saying? Arkansas, you know, Wyoming. I mean, you know, like I said, I'm thinking of the rural states and things of that nature. So that's why I'm just like, that's crazy just to even think about something to that effect. Oops. Sorry about that, family. I'm multitasking all at the same time. But yeah, like I said, just the idea of that, man, it's like, look, yeah, just the idea of that is just, to me, crazy. Okay, on some realness. But yeah, it's just, you know, we're living in crazy times because the cost of everything is going up. Wages are stagnated. And then to add on to that, you know, a lot of people are losing their jobs. You know, so the chances of foreclosure for homes, very high. You know, the chances of people defaulting on, you know, because now people can't pay their car bills, so the chances of people defaulting on their car bills is pretty high. You know, the monthly car payments. It's not a joke. That's another thing to take into consideration. So yeah, that's just something to take into consideration. It's just like, it's weird, but yet it's crazy all at the same time. There we go. All right, cool. That's the last thing I got to worry about doing. So yeah, it's just like, you know, and remember because I'm about to get into one of the topics of the first topic of today's forecast, we're all going to die. Remember whenever a government entity or a major corporate building facility ends up closing down or downsizing, the chances of that town or that area financially going into major decline is very, very high. Case in point, before I even get into the UPS. So I remember during the recession of 2007-8 timeframe, I remember there was a documentary about auto workers, because the auto industry took a real heavy hit during that time frame in the state of Oregon. Okay, in the state of Oregon, I remember that. And unfortunately, and it talked about the effects, because this is when I was just learning about, you know, I'm still in my 20s at this time. You know, the 80s babies, we got to see the economic downturn of the United States of America in 2007 and 8. because we were there. We were just starting off in our careers. Whether we joined the military, because we were. Remember, and it's crazy how the Afghan and Iraq war doesn't really get talked about in 2025 anymore. But back then, it was quote unquote America was at war. Back then, quote unquote. A lot of people joined the military, especially young people of my generation, people who graduated high school between, I'd say, when it comes to my generation, 1999 to 2006. A good chunk of young people, whether they were from the major cities or suburbs of rural America, joined the United States military. Shout out to the veterans. Shout out to the current service members who are active duty right now. Because one, people want to serve the country, but two, people just needed a job. It's like, we're talking about a time frame where, jobs were disappearing. We're starting to disappear slowly but surely. And then 2007-8, a big magnitude, a significant number of jobs just disappeared. Because a lot of companies downsized, or a lot of companies were out of business. The gig economy was born during this time frame. Okay, but back to what I was saying about the auto industry. So GM in Ohio decided they had to close down a lot of their factories in the United States of America and move their factories overseas because, one, a lot of American cars just aren't bought like that. It's just a rarity, and even in 2025, for me to see a lot of people, unless they're older vehicles, I don't really see people buying too many GMs or Ford motor vehicles like that. Just to be specific, and especially the last 5 years, Tesla's before dummy Elon Musk started acting a fool. I think any CEO should not be into politics. They should just stick to making money. I'll leave it at that. But yeah, so lately, the Cybertrucks were the biggest thing. Yeah, the Cybertrucks were the biggest things. Teslas, obviously other vehicles, but not too many American vehicles were really big on the priorities list. And during that time, 2007, 2008, people were not only losing their jobs, people were losing their house. So the idea of being able to, like now, because that's what's happening now in 2025, that's why I'm bringing that time frame up. The idea of buying a vehicle is very low on somebody's priority list unless they absolutely have no choice. Dealerships are hurting themselves to where they can't move inventory. I've driven by 5 dealerships in the last month, and there has not really been one single empty space on those lots. During the pandemic, I remember seeing a lack of vehicles on the lots because of the chip shortages and things of that nature, because the auto parts, the places in China and other parts of the world were shut down due to COVID. With that being said, whether you're for the tariffs or against the tariffs, I'm against the tariffs in the way that it was done. I think if it was a year process of, hey, we're going to implement tariffs as we build up an economic base to have certain factories open in the United States of America, whether they're 9 times out of 10, they'll be employed by robots. Most of the employees there will be robots, because we're not in the 1970s and 80s and 90s anymore, where the cost of living is much lower. Cost of living is very high, so therefore, to have an American work in a factory in the United States of America at a high volume, the chances are that whoever the corporation is that is making the products, they would have to pay these Americans at least no less than $20 an hour. Because that's a lot of hard manual labor. Plus, most factories nowadays are not like the factories of the 1980s and 90s and 70s, where it's mostly people working in the factories. It's mostly, you look at the freaking Tesla plants where they make the Tesla vehicles, it's mostly robots. making the vehicles, and the people that are working there is a small number of people, and they're operating the robots. So that's why I said we're unlike people that are on the left and the right in 2025. Right now, we're way past politics. We're all about the economics and the numbers. So I just gotta leave it at that. But at the end of the day, we're living in a time frame where people are more and more regular, everyday working people, even your upper middle class people, are scraping by. So the idea of getting a newer vehicle or getting a newer anything, unless it's absolutely needed, it's not really high on the priorities list, and therefore that's why it's affected consumer spending. All right. So that helps me go into the topic of today's forecast. We're all gonna die. 20,000 UPS workers will be laid off. And now, and plus up to 73 facilities by June or July, and we're already in May of 2025. It's like, June 2025, that's what we're going to have the issue of. More and more people being laid off. A lot of people are going to be on unemployment. And it's sad, unfortunately. UPS layoff signals economic warning could impact Metro Atlanta and various other areas. Yep, I was double checking the numbers. 20,000 jobs, closing 73 facilities, citing reduced business with Amazon and new tariff risks in its quarterly report. Now, like I said, there was a great example. Before I even get into this, a trucker put on a video. He's like, look, the trucking industry's been hurting ever since COVID. He said there was a couple of months in 2020 where truckers made a lot more money because the demand for trucking was very, very high. And then after that, he's like, the demand went down. And he made a good point. He was like, look, you think things got better under Biden? He's like, things were still slowly deteriorating. He's like, now with the tariffs, things have just deteriorated more as far as the trucking industry. And I'm like, I don't disagree with that. The only difference is, ports weren't empty in Seattle, Washington. Ports were not empty in Los Angeles. Ports were not empty in New York City, Norfolk, Baltimore, etc., Miami, etc., and so forth. Because we have an economic trade war going on with China, and remember, whatever your political affiliations is, I don't care. I don't like any politician. But I will say at the end of the day, it's just like, clearly the well-to-do doesn't care about what they're doing to the poor people, and they're looking at any aspect in any way to replace poor people, and living in a country where it's just all about the well-to-do and nobody else. So at the end of the day, with these layoffs in regards to UPS, I heard they're going to be offering workers severance packages, but if you right now having that means less people contributing to an economy. Because they're just going to. The U.S. economy needs people to be in debt in regards to buying stuff that they don't need. Now we're living in a time where people are just buying what they need because everything's so freaking expensive. That's including myself. I can't even lie about that. But at the end of the day, with those specific layoffs, it's a real big freaking deal. Okay, and things are going to get much more serious, in the coming weeks. Then with empty ports means that the cost of goods and services is going to go up even more so. Why? Because clearly the demand for products are going to go up because there's going to be less and less of them coming into the country. And it's like I said, bear in mind, I'm all for people wanting to, America, every country should have a backup when it comes to their supply chain. I don't disagree with that, but going about it abruptly instead of going at it more strategically is like, hey, I'll implement these tariffs a couple of months from now as I'm working out a deal to get more and more American companies to try to somewhat build factories to replace the lack of productivity that's going to be happening. I mean, the lack of products that we will be getting from China or anywhere else. That's the difference. All right. So I leave it at that. Like I said, don't do politics over here. Do all about the economics. But this is some serious stuff. And like I said, now we're at a point where a lot of car dealerships, people that work at car dealerships are just giving up. They're like, you know what? I'm done with it. One of my best friends, he works at a dealership, and I can see him saying the heck with it, just because it's like they say, if you're not making any money, what's the point of being in the business? You feel like you're wasting your time because you're in the sales business, but yet and still you're not getting into sales. And remember, it's like with these ports being empty, you're going to have more people being laid off from the dock workers. Number one, the truckers are barely not making the amount of money that they were making before the tariffs hit. Number two, number three, that means these people can't spend that amount of money that they used to spend. So therefore, a lot of small businesses go out of business. A lot of businesses during the pandemic went out of business because they could not open in certain states and cities. Then a lot of businesses went out of business because people couldn't afford to shop at those businesses. A lot of people cannot afford to shop darn near anywhere nowadays. And then there's been a report about, incentives being given to Americans because the birth rate is very low. And I say, well, I'm not mad at anybody who wants to have a kid or doesn't have a kid. I don't have any kids. I don't want any kids. But I will say with all sincerity that in May of 2025, why would anybody want to have a child? The chance of you even getting, unless you're well-to-do, I'm talking about your everyday working person, unless you have a chance of getting some sort of government assistance with this administration, that's not going to happen. If you have the possibility of, getting an inheritance from a family member, it's so expensive to just support yourself in 2025. Why would you want to go out of your way to support a child? And I heard there's been thoughts and proposals, but hasn't been fully implemented yet. So do not quote me. We're going to incentivize people by giving them a stimulus check of $5,000 or some crap like that. And I'm just like, $5,000 is not going to cover for a year to take care of a baby in 2025. It's just not. It's just not. That's just, people living in their own little reality, or as I like to say, people living back in the 1980s. $5,000 ain't nothing. If you really trying to get people to have more kids because of the quote unquote birth defect in the United States of America, then you better come with your A game for like $20,000, $30,000, because that can help upstart a family in a big way. Because it's so expensive to raise yourself, let alone a family in 2025. We live in a time where people are working more and more now just to survive. They're not working more and more now to thrive. People forget that. But what do I know? That's what I always say. What do I know? So, interesting times we're living in. Interesting times. That's all I can say. We'll see where this thing goes. We'll see where this thing goes, because I have a funny feeling because we call this Larry's Anything Goes. I have a feeling by the end of by the middle of June, we're going to really see how things pan out and how things go down. So I'll leave it at that. It's an interesting time to be alive, though. we shall see how this thing pans out. But either way, it's like I'm rooting for us to, to make it by and do what we gotta do so that we can thrive. Straight up and down. But that's where we're at. It's like, if people are losing their jobs, that means the chances of, repos are up, foreclosures are up, eviction notices will be up eventually. And, there's not much I can say about that, because it's like, a thriving economy means a lot of jobs. People being able to pay their bills, therefore pay into the system. People being able to do something outside of the box. That's a thriving economy. The simplistic aspect of a thriving economy. I'm not getting hardcore into the one-on-one aspects of, outside of the one-on-one aspects of it. But that's a thriving economy. And now more working people is, hey, just go to work and come home. So that means they're just spending money on the basic things: food, gas, maintenance every now and then, and whatnot. But the idea of going to a store and shopping until they drop, that's fading away. And if that's not really high on the priorities list, then therefore you have a better chance of a slumping economy. I'm not acting like I'm a economic whiz on this subject matters, but I know the one-on-one aspects. And when I see the one-on-one aspects, the information that I can conclude is that it's slowly but surely becoming a sinking ship. So prepare for the worst. Stay ready. You ain't got to get ready. So on that note, family, hopefully you enjoyed this edition of today's forecast. We're all going to die. 2025, episode 2025, episode 25, not 2025. And we're going to go from there. We're going to keep this train going. Thank you to the new subscribers out there. Like I said, it's nice to finally have over 1,000 subscribers. Took a lot to get here. And thank you for those who support the channel monetarily, liking, subscribing, or just watching the commentary. It's definitely greatly appreciated. So on that note, do the great thing for things. Like, share, subscribe. Have a great day. Make money moves so you can live all like fools. They say in Spanish. Bienvenido a la vida. Welcome to the life. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Larry's Anything Goes. Hopefully, you're having a great day. If you've been watching Larry's Anything Goes programming, you know that we are not only providing great financial intelligence content as much as possible by interviewing other financial professionals, professionals in the travel industry, real estate industry, etc., and so forth, but we provide various services when it comes to specific products that we sell, from anything that you would actually find on Amazon or actually at Walmart, etc., and so forth. And we are actually providing specific products due to today's current crisis and whatnot, to ensure that we provide the right services and products that you need at a reasonable price when it comes to medical face masks, when it comes to hand sanitizer, and when it comes to latex gloves and things of that nature, and etc., and so forth, toilet paper, paper towels. But we have what you need. Also, family, don't forget that Larry's Anything Goes is a part of an affiliate marketing network known as Gold Standard Partners, where you have the opportunity to buy cryptocurrency and allow others to invest with you as becoming an affiliate marketing partner. And obviously, if they purchase a package with the program, you're able to make money off their package purchases and make money off of their crypto purchases and things of that nature. If you want to join, please follow the links in the description, and I'll give you a call as soon as you sign up and purchase a package, and we'll go from there. But definitely, it's all about the best way to make money moves is to have currency with one another, and to ensure that currency is always being spoken of on all levels, so it benefits everyone and not just one specific person. That's a lot of things that people forget about. So think about joining the program, and we'll be able to go from there. But if not, either way, it's always appreciated. And thank you for watching. And hopefully you guys have a great day and continuously make money moves so you don't live broke like a fool. Take care. As you can see, with our various products, we have our financial apparel. As you see, wearing There's Anything Goes t-shirt, financial intelligence is sexy, face mask, latex gloves, things of that nature, to obviously ensure the safety of you and your family all at the same time. We want to ensure that you get the best products and see the actual products that we're actually providing for you, and giving you another view of not only the shirts and the medical masks, but actually another view of actual latex gloves and the actual hand sanitizer. Because one thing we've learned throughout this unfortunate crisis is that we have to take more precautionary measures to ensure not only the safety for ourselves, but for our families. And having a great pair of hand sanitizers, latex gloves, and medical face masks will ensure that safety. And with all that being said, hopefully you guys will check out our online store. We have the various products that you see here. With a couple of clicks, especially if you're paying via PayPal, it makes life that much easier for you to purchase our various products, especially during this unfortunate situation. You see the apparel from LarrysAnythingGoes. We have the medical products when it comes to hand sanitizer, latex gloves, medical face masks, and things of that nature, and various other products. So please check out LarrysAnythingGoes. Support small local businesses. We greatly appreciate it, and hopefully that you have a good day.
Mike, now. Mike, now.